Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Oh yeah!
Awesome. I want to welcome you all to the Ross and Maggie wedding. It's been in the planning for, seems like a long time, but it's turned out pretty dang good. Thank you. My good friend Tom told me a long time ago, you can make 3 points in a speech. Not 2, not 4, but 3. Any more and nobody listens, less than that, and you're not important. So I'm going to stick to 3 topics tonight. I'm going to talk about family, I'm going to talk about Ross, and then, oh, Maggie. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So, first of all, when I talk about family, I'm really talking about everybody in this room. It doesn't have, you don't have to necessarily be related to the Burgers of this month by bloodline, but all of you are members of the family, with the possible exception of the sax player. I don't know if you've met him yet. Everybody else is in the family. Family is really the foundation of a marriage, and I know Bob and I played golf today, and it's pretty clear that Bob and I got really lucky about 35 years ago when we found Carol and Marge, respectively, and somehow convinced them to marry us. And I know, from my perspective anyway, I've been spending the last 31 years of that married life trying to live up to those expectations that Marge set for me. I'm getting there, guys. There's hope. But I do think we, both the Burgers and the Smunts, I think we did a pretty decent job of setting the expectations for what a family is about. But the real foundation for our families, both the Burgers and the Smunts, really goes back a little further than Bob and Carol and Marge and I. And we're really blessed tonight to have the fathers and mothers of our family here with us. Joan Burger, Ed and Jane Sweinberg, and my mom, Dorothy. And I'm so pleased that you all are here. And we have Bob and Marge Kulo and Bob Burger and my dad, Jim, not with us here, but I know that in spirit they're with us, and I don't think they could be happier at this moment to have these two getting together. By the way, those 4 couples represent over 200 years of successful marriage. So, Meggs and Ross, if you can't figure it out after that, I think it's an example like that that makes me really, really comfortable that you two are going to be successful. And I honestly think that a big part of the reason that Maggie and Ross found each other is because they both believe in and love their families so much. And it's been such a pleasure getting to know the Burgers because, you know, they were like the Smunts except from Bloomington. So Ross. I heard a song on the radio a few days ago called Two Trees. And it's a song, it's a song about 2 trees. It's actually more about a couple that grows together. And it's a beautiful song that talks about how the limbs of the trees intertwine. And if you know Maggie, she's a lot about limbs. So I thought of them a lot. But it also reminded me of this place, the Arboretum, which is such a beautiful place. And my family will remember this. About 10, 12 years ago, we were walking around here at the Arboretum, and we saw this beautiful tree. It's a Katsura tree, which I now have 2, one in my backyard, one in my front yard. But the Katsura tree is this absolutely beautiful, big, serene, cool, strong tree that you look at it and it just makes you feel comfortable. And it reminds me of Ross. Ross came into our lives about 5 years ago. There was no big, trumpets and fanfare and noise. It was more like he showed up and all of a sudden started growing roots. But they were good roots. And he became part of our family. And in a family where dinner conversation is a combat sport, it's nice to have one guy who actually listens. It's also really nice to have a guy in the family that can pick up a piano, which Ross did for me last weekend. So, Maggie, Actually, Megs may not remember this, but 27 years ago today, Megs and I had a double date. She was 3 weeks old, and we went to 2 weddings, which seemed to make sense when I was 27 years old and just the new father. Marge wasn't feeling all that great having just had a baby. So we went to 2 weddings, and we had a great time. Right? You may not remember, but we did have a great time. That first year of Maggie's life, Marge was a consultant, so she was working a lot, and I had the pleasure of being the primary caregiver, which is pretty unusual back in, well, whatever year that was. And so Megs and I did a lot of stuff together. Maggie was construction baby when my brother Greg and I redid our basement. And Maggie was basketball baby on Saturdays when my buddies and I would go play over at the church. She rode on my head when we cut the grass. We went to the grocery store together. I got the pleasure of taking her to my friend's house every morning and dropping her off. And having the worst time of my life when I would drop her off and she would burst into tears as I was walking out the door, and it tore my heart out. The good news is I would come back 8 hours later and she would throw her arms around me and hug me. And that was the best feeling in the world. So, I look back on that and I'm trying to figure like what was going on there, and I've begun to realize what Maggie was doing was she was building a home in my heart. And over the years she kind of nestled in there, and we did a whole lot of other stuff. Caroling and, gosh, a whole bunch of fun stuff. Christmas Eves together. Recording history books for her on tape. But that place in my heart grew. About 5 years ago, this guy Ross shows up. And I think he figured out, I need to build a home for this girl in my heart. And over those last few years, he's built this beautiful home for my daughter. And Maggie's pretty smart, so she started moving out. Well, today is officially moving day. And I'd be lying if I said it doesn't hurt a lot to have her missing from that home in my heart. But that home will always be there. So anytime you want to visit, come on down. I'm going to end this, it's not really a toast as much as, can I have my glass? Because I am going to start drinking now. Done looking at the notes too. So, actually 31 years ago, Marge was wearing the exact same dress that Maggie's wearing tonight. And Marge and I got married. And Father Ed, as we were finishing our ceremony, put his hand on my shoulder and Marge's and said the following: "What God has joined, let no man put asunder." And scared the crap out of me. So I say the same to you. God bless you, and everybody have a great time.